Hi and welcome. I'm Caroline Best of the Tao of Horsemanship, Everything Horses and More blog. And today we're going to be talking about leadership and horse training, specifically understanding the basics of horse training, with gnats in my eyes, the truth about leadership, dominance, and training, part 1. The common do's, don'ts, and myths. So as you guys have already experienced with me, I'm already debunking a lot of the general horsemanship out there and general training practices and methods by a lot of our leading clinicians, international clinicians, and even some of our more professional trainers. So I'm debunking a lot. We just filmed, it was perfect timing, my big 18-hand Frisian sport horse, Zor. We just filmed him getting scared and worried about something in his paddock area, something that's new. It is a camouflage t-shirt that was draped over the gate. And I'll talk more about that. You guys will see more about that probably in part 2 as I explain how I handled a situation like that, and where leadership was very important in a situation like that with Zor, and how I show leadership in a heightened situation like that with Zor. Meaning, when a horse is fearful like that, it's really important to gain some level of control, not authority. I don't mean control in an authoritative way or dominant way at all. And I'll explain more about my perspective on leadership and how I teach leadership qualities. But leadership in a way that is clear and guiding for him. And if I can, in a scary situation, well, Zor thinks it's scary, if my leadership is strong enough with him in that particular situation, it'll be strong enough for him to pay attention to and start to gravitate towards. If you guys have seen on my YouTube channel part 1 and part 2 of Zor when he was 4, he's 10 now. When he was 4, I did the scary horse video. He's behind us now. He's at Liberty. And I did that when he was 4, and then a year later I did part 2 just to show where he was with minimal work and training, but to just show where he was. And so we're still taking the same principles of leadership that I apply as far as being clear and an exemplary leader and being able to guide and direct your horse. And I'm referencing those older videos because I couldn't guide him at all. You saw me literally tap, 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 tap with a strong carriage whip trying to get his attention, and he was so scared of the wood line and whatever he thought was going to come out of the woods, he couldn't even focus on me no matter how loud I got. Sometimes I get viewers who comment on those videos specifically as if I'm beating him or hurting him, because I'm so strong and I'm so methodical, constantly on him about trying to reconnect to me. And that's really why I'm that loud. With a horse that isn't that scared or more sensitive or just a different nature, you wouldn't have to scream at them, so to speak. But in those videos, Zor's fear was so strong, it was overriding any thought process whatsoever. Not to mention, he was brand new to me, so I hadn't been able to exercise his left brain and develop it more into a thinking, more logical, for a better word, for horses, a more logical, rational side of his brain, which is the left side. So that's why we do all of these very thoughtful, methodical exercises to get the horse to start using his left brain more in my work specifically. And then I also am teaching you how to become more sensory aware, get into your right brain where the horse is all the time. So that's kind of deviating off this subject. I'm going to spray myself with fly spray because these gnats are just horrific. Note to self, do not spray your sunglasses with fly spray or any kind of spray, because it will eat away at the protective, I hate doing this to my hair, but it will eat away at your, whatever film you have on your sunglasses. So don't spray your sunglasses. I've done that by accident and ruined a really expensive pair. So yeah, a little bit of fly spray on my hair, my eyebrows, wherever, and my shirt, and the flies should go away, the gnats. Okie dokie. So let's get back to the topic at hand, and I'm going to read so I don't ramble like I just did, and then you guys will be able to pick up part 2 and see where I worked with Zor with this scary object until he wasn't afraid of it anymore, at least not to that extent. He's still up though. He's still like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure. And that just shows you how reactive a horse like Zor still is. Alrighty. I get people that email me all the time and ask me about what we're getting ready to talk about. So this is really important. If anything, it's going to help to validate so many of you out there that are so sick and tired of the harsh forms of training, especially some of the most recognized figures. Okay, understanding the basics of horse training, the truth about leadership. As far as I'm concerned, dominance in training, also scientifically proven in this. Part 1, the common do's and don'ts and myths about it. Do you often hear how you should be the boss or alpha with your horse? Are you being told that your horse doesn't respect you and dominates you? Especially, don't let your horse in your space. He's crowding you and pushing you around. This is an important topic and one that I'd like to discuss because it's very important to reading and understanding and knowing how to work with horses in a way that is more natural for the horse and a way that works best for the horse. Not for us, but for the horse. So if you really want to study, ethology means, the word ethology is to study. If you really want to study horses, especially wild horses, and really get to understand healthy dynamics of a wild herd, you will start to understand the language of equus. And so, everything that I do, whether it's these YouTube blogs or my training method, everything I do is about the horse. Is about understanding the language of the horse. It's not about making it easier for me to train and teach you. Actually, it's the opposite, because I'm here to tell you that there's nothing easy about horse training at all. I don't care how we simplify it. It might be simple, simply stated, simply presented. It is not easy. That's a huge myth out there. And I just nailed the reason. The reason why it's not easy is because if you truly want to work with the horse, work with its nature, work with what's more natural to them, and in a way that works best for them and doesn't compromise them, it's not going to be easy. The other flip side is all the trainers out there, even the top ones, trying to sell you their way by showing you how easy it is. And 99% of them are using a more dominant, forceful approach, method, attitude. Horse training has relied heavily on teaching people how to train horses using force, dominance, and pressure. The common understanding was that horses bossed each other around all the time, and those being bossed were easily moved through dominant actions and behavior. Some even showed aggression, some horses, and were mean. And because of these types of actions and behavior, humans thought that was the right way. I also believe that by nature, people are intimidated by the horse's size and presence, especially the drafts. I've worked with way too many drafts that are petrified of humans because they've been beaten into submission. And I believe that's because, again, people are just intimidated by the size and they don't want to get hurt, and that's the common mindset, especially around draft horses. So, from what I can ascertain from this nonsense, the wrong people were studying the wrong horse dynamics, meaning horse trainers and horse owners were gauging this behavior by observing unhealthy, domesticated horse herds and not healthy wild horse behavior. To back up my statement, let's look at more recent historical accounts and research on horse behavior, herd interaction, and socialization. Let's begin with the ethology or study of wild horses. In more recent studies, we have learned that wild horses have both a lead mare and a lead stallion. And most importantly, various members of the band, which is a group of mares, because that's what a wild herd is made up of, mares and one stallion. Most importantly, various members of this herd will also take on the role of leadership. So it's not just one individual. So while you do have a lead mare and a lead stallion, the whole herd participates. And that's an important part for us to really understand when we are working with horses and learning how to train horses in a way that makes sense to them, that works best for them. We've also learned that as a highly organized social species, the horse, horses prefer cohesive groups instead of isolation, like we have them in our domestication. They are instinctively hardwired as a group to work together to achieve this level of cohesiveness and communal cooperation. Again, this backs up my experience and theory on why horses make such amazing partners once we learn how to work with them. A partnership that they offer, they willingly will offer, not through force and coercion like we've been taught, but through my method. They will willingly offer this and protect you and take care of you because it's instinctual to them. Their mental and physical welfare and safety depends on the ability to be a cohesive herd and a herd that works together. That's what hierarchy is all about, you guys. Pecking order is an overused and or a misunderstood term in horsemanship and in horses, the study of horses. Pecking order really only exists in young horses, as just like it does with young kids, as we're trying to figure out where we fit in. Bottom line, in a healthy herd dynamic, once you grow up and mature, pecking order doesn't exist anymore in healthy herds. Pecking order is allowed so that horses figure out where they fit in, which eventually becomes hierarchy. And hierarchy doesn't mean that everybody stays in certain positions and roles. Again, they share those positions. Many times in big herds have I witnessed my Trinity, Sundance, and Legend, my older horses, working together to control the herd. And it's always to socialize and make sure that everybody's getting along. So while Sundance might be the best lead mare, she will back down with an aggressive mare, and she will allow other horses to help her. She will use that to help her govern. Same with Smokey and in Legend. It's really awesome. So, here we get back to the word partnership, and that's a completely different video series that I'm going to be branching off into, because you just can't have one blog on partnership. I mean, wow, this just gets deep. And using partnership, having your horses co-facilitate equine assisted workshops where you learn about partnership and you learn more about healthy leadership and what that means. So getting back to horses are instinctively hardwired to work together to achieve this level of cohesiveness and communal cooperation, partnership. Their mental and physical welfare and safety depends on this, and this is what research has proven. Studies have also shown that while a lead mare and stallion will lead the herd to forage and water better food and water sources, they will also stand over the herd while they eat and drink. That's amazing. I see this here all the time. That's why I love doing the work I do, to help the domesticated horse feel safe enough and in a position to get back to the foundation of who they really are instinctively. And it's beautiful to see 6 horses share a water trough. The lead horse might go in and take a drink, but then, like Zor, he governs who comes in and makes sure that nobody bosses the other horses away. So it's not in the horse's DNA to dominate food and water sources like we've previously been told or have experienced and observed in our unhealthy domesticated horses. So in the wild, we really get to study a healthy socialization and herd dynamic. I can't recommend that enough. So rather, it's in the horse's natural DNA to stick together and protect as their very lives depend on safety in numbers and a coexisting, cohesive group.